Hey everybody, it's Kate the West Coast Paper Crafter, and you are joining me for project 1 of my Reindeer Fun card class at home. I'm going to be using the Reindeer Fun stamp set and the dies and some of the paper and the twine from the suite. If you don't have these things, that's totally okay. Use what you have in your stash and your projects are going to be uniquely yours and just as amazing, I'm absolutely sure. So let's get started. I'm just going to go through our measurements, and you can see I've got quite a few things that are already cut out and ready to go. So all we need to do is assemble our card and do a little bit of stamping. So to start out, we have got our card base. This is real red. It is 4 1/4 by 11, and it's scored at 5 1/2 and folded over. We have a garden green layer. This is 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. A basic white layer that is 5 1/4 by 4. Some patterned paper from the Reindeer Days Designer Series paper pack. And these are the same size. They're both 2 inches by 5 1/4. I've got another strip of real red, and this is 3/4 of an inch by 5 1/4. I've got 2 circles. I used the Spotlight on Nature dies to cut these out. So this is the second largest die, and I cut that out in basic white. And this is the third largest die in real red. Then from the Reindeer Fun dies, I cut out all the pieces to build the reindeer. So the back piece with the antlers, that's early Expresso. The middle piece that has the full ears, that is basic beige. And then the top layer is crumb cake. The wreath I cut out in garden green. The bells are cut out from gold foil, and this little bow is real red. So just move these pieces out of the way, and we're going to build our card base first. So to start out, you'll take your garden green layer, and we're just going to add our patterned paper to the front of this layer. So use whatever you have or whatever you choose for your adhesive. I like Tombow. So this will have about 1/16 of a border, just a very slight border. Now the second piece I'm going to glue on the bottom. It will be the same. It's okay if they don't line up perfectly in the middle, because we're going to cover the seam with that strip of real red. So don't worry if you don't have it perfect, if there's a little bit of an overlap, because we're going to take care of that. All right, so I've glued the 2 pieces of the pattern paper down, and then I'm going to add this strip of real red to cover the seam in between the 2 pieces of pattern paper. Okay, so just like so. Now I've got a little piece of the real red and white baker's twine, and I'm just going to add that to the middle of that red strip that we just glued down. And I am going to use my tear and tape to adhere this twine to the back side of this layer. So I'm just going to fold it over, add my tear and tape, and then I'll do the exact same thing on the other side of the card. Oops, I lost the edge of that. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to make sure that I have it where I want it. And then I'll just tape that down. Okay, so I'm just going to trim this. It's up to you, but I'm going to trim it and get it out of the way. And then I'm going to add this layer to the front of the card base. Now it's up to you if you want to pop it up with dimensionals or if you just want to glue it down flat. The baker's twine is pretty thin, so I'm going to glue it down flat. If I was using a little thicker of ribbon, I might choose to pop it up just so I don't have a big dent in the front of my card. But this is pretty thin, so it won't be a problem. All right, so this goes down right on the front of the card, and you're going to have just a tiny little red border around your garden green layer, about 1/16 of an inch. All right, so the next thing we need to do is build our reindeer. And to do that, I will use Tombow, but I've got a little bottle from, I think I got it from, well, I got it from a friend of mine, and I know she picked up some of these bottles from Amazon, and I just refilled them, and I find they're really helpful for precision gluing, because I don't want too much glue that it's going to leach out. And I'm a little bit heavy-handed with my Tombow, so this helps me be a little bit neater. Now, if you get a little bit of leaching and you're using Tombow, that's okay because it does dry clear. All right, so I have layered the basic beige layer on top of the early Expresso. That's the one with the full ears. And now I'm going to glue on my top layer, and that one is Crumb Cake. So I'm just going to add a tiny little bit of glue. Oh, I missed a spot. There, we should be good. And I'll layer that right on top. And there you go. All right, so now this I'm going to pop into the wreath. So I find it easiest if I just put a little dot of glue right about here. And then I'm going to do another one right at the top part of the wreath. And then I'm going to just slide him into the wreath, this little deer head into the wreath. So the bottom part where I've got the glue is going to attach to the wreath. And then where I've stuck that glue at the top of the wreath, it will attach to the back of the head, like so. Okay. Now we're going to add our jingle bells. And I am going to put them right at the bottom of the wreath. And I'll put the big one down first, and then I can overlap the smaller bell. All right, so there we go, just like that. And then I want to add this little red bow right where the bells have the little openings that you would normally join them with some ribbon or something. I'm going to cover that up so it looks like they're tied together. Now, if you have a glue dot, you can use a glue dot. I'm going to use my Tombow. I just put a little bit on there, and that's what the end product looks like. So now I'm going to set this aside, and we have a little bit of stamping to do. So on the real red circle die cut, I am going to stamp in the same shade of red. So I've got my real red ink pad. I've got the Merry Christmas Sentiment from the Reindeer Fun stamp set. And I'm just going to stamp this in a random pattern all over this red circle die cut. And I'm just going to offset the words. And I'm going to try to keep them fairly evenly spaced. Well, I'll do the best that I can. One more at the very top. And I think I got to do one more at the bottom. All right. So that looks like that. And what we'll do now is just glue this down onto the basic white die cut. All right, so that just goes right in the middle. And the reindeer is going to go right in the middle of that. So you can choose to do whatever you like. You can glue down the reindeer or you can pop him up on the circle. I'm going to pop him up. So I'm just going to add some dimensionals to the back. If you have some mini dimensionals, you can add those to the back of the ears. And then we'll just pop him up on this circle. Right in the middle. Okay, so now this goes in the middle of your card. And again, you can choose whether you want to glue it down or pop it up with dimensionals. I am going to pop it up. And I'm just going to put 2 dimensionals on the top of that circle and 2 dimensionals on the bottom. And that way I'm not going to get any dimensionals on that piece of baker's twine. Okay, right in the middle. Like so. All right, so here's the front of our card. Now, for the inside, if you like, you can choose to stamp the Merry Christmas right in the middle, which I think I'll do. And I'm going to use some of the smaller stamps from the Reindeer Fun stamp set, and I'm going to add a little bit of holly to the corners of the card. Now, I did forget to mention that because this is landscape, that I did stamp my sentiment in landscape as well. So that's important to remember when you are doing either portrait or landscape, just to make sure that you've got, if you're stamping on the inside of your card, you just want to make sure that it's the right direction. So I've just stamped the holly leaves in garden green. And then I'm going to add these little holly berries in real red. I'm going to close up this ink pad so I don't get ink everywhere. Oh, it's not behaving. There we go. All right, now the last thing we need to do is just glue our inside piece to the inside of the card. And that's it. Project number 1. I hope you enjoy this project. And if you do recreate it, I would love to see what you come up with. So feel free to post a picture in the comments if you're watching this video on Facebook. I would love to see what you make. Thanks for watching project number 1 and tune in for project number 3.